Hello, welcome to the video about interrupting. So there's much of life is about listening to other people and trying to be connected with other people. And at times you're going to want to interrupt. And can you interrupt and stay connected? Now, most of the learning or training that we received as young children about it being rude is that we never have the idea of interrupting to create connection, because interruption was assumed to be disconnecting. So part of this practice, and it's a life practice, is to be able to interrupt in a way that hopefully you're already connected, that helps you stay connected, and if you're not, that it leads you to connection. So I do a lot of mediation work with two people as an example. And so sometimes I don't start out with a set of rules, but one of the things that's important to me is that one person speaks at a time, just so that I can keep track and know what's being said. And because part of my goal is to deliver messages back and forth to each other in a way that they can be heard, and that the speaker can be confident that the message was received the way they want, and that the receiver of the message is not off in their mind into some other interpretation. Because once you don't have trust, and by definition, you're not going to have trust if you're in one of these generally in one of these mediation situations. So I want people to speak one at a time, but I don't want to start out with a series of rules. So what do I do? So when they start talking over each other, one of them interrupts and another one, and they go back and forth, I go, excuse me. And I say, excuse me, as many times as it takes for them to stop and look at me. And that sometimes I've gone like 5, 6, 7, excuse me. Try not to get urgent or angry about it, because they're doing their thing and they're not doing it to me, and I can just let my ego, and plus I've done my work ahead of time, and I've worked, most of the time I've worked one-on-one with these people, and I care about now what's going on with them, and trying to recreate some connection, at least enough connection to where they can resolve their dispute. So I say, excuse me. And as soon as I get their attention, I stop with the excuse me and I say, but I want to be quick with what I'm going to say, not urgent, not demanding, but just say, excuse me, I really am not able to track what is being said and who's saying what when you all talk at the same time, when you talk over the other person. Would you be willing to talk one at a time? And generally they say yes, and then generally they ignore that in a few minutes if it's heated, and they start interrupting, and I go, excuse me. It's difficult for me to track what's being said when you're talking at the same time. Would you be willing to talk one at a time? And they say yes, and I've had to do that 3 times, and then they got it. And it's not like every interruption is something that I'm gonna, every time someone talks over somebody else, that I'm gonna jump in there. I mean, because sometimes it's clear that they're communicating and they're doing fine. And so I'm not gonna be the policeman. And I'm phrasing this in a way to where I'm not the policeman, that I'm making a request, that it's a genuine request. And there's gonna be no punishment of any kind if they say, no, I want to talk at the same time, but I haven't had that. So break that down. What do I do? I've been in that situation many, many times. And so I've worked through it in my head. And so I can do it really quickly. But if you're in a new situation, you're in a meeting with a colleague at work, and they start, talking on something, and for whatever reason, you want to interrupt them. First, I recommend that you pause for a second, do the self-connection process, be sure what your own needs are. This may only take a breath or two. I'm not talking about a long project here, but if you've been practicing self-connection regularly, daily, and several times a day, then you can do this in a breath or two. And then, you know, what is your need? Why are you going to interrupt this person? Are they just irritating you, and there's something about how they're irritating you? And that might be something that you could take up with them offline, or you deal with in another way, that you don't need to interrupt them for that. But that's a decision that you make. If you're going to interrupt and you want to interrupt to create connection, then interrupt in a way that gets their attention. And then you want to say what you're interrupting about. Now, maybe it's obvious, but say, you know, this is just, you've said more words than I can take in right now. I wonder if you're willing to pause and let me figure out if I have some questions about what you've said thus far. Are you willing to do that at this point? So what is my need? Well, I've revealed my need there. My need is to sort of track and to understand, make sense of, integrate, you know, those kinds of things. I haven't actually said them, but you don't always have to say the word for the need to be revealed. And I've made a clear request. So, you know, I'm pausing because I can say so much more, but so this is a thing you can practice with your practice partner. This is the kind of thing that after your debrief of an interaction, maybe you didn't interrupt and you wish you'd interrupted, then you do a debrief and you mourn and you celebrate and then learn. And then maybe your plan is, I want to practice with my practice partner to revisit this and practice that particular one. And maybe you want to put it into the learning to have a difficult conversation. If you think this is, or what happened turned into some sort of train wreck that you want to disentangle and you want to really learn from and work through. Or it just may be something that you want to practice how to interrupt and then do it with your practice partner. Or you can just do it in your head. You can journal interruption. So that's sort of the ways to get at this and to become more skillful and to interrupt, you know, the person in your life that it goes on and you want to, you know, have them get to the point or something. Now, just a point there about that kind of person that you're interacting with, it's often because they want their need for empathy met. They want, or really they want to be heard, which is a close cousin to empathy, a need for empathy. And if they want to be heard, you can demonstrate that you've heard for them, and often that will reduce the number of words that they say afterwards. Now, you may have to make guesses on several different topics if they line up, because if they're saying more words than you like, they're saying more words than other people like. But anyway, that's just a tip. You can practice empathizing with your cousin Gladys or Uncle Jim, who just goes on and on at the family gatherings, and you can just interrupt, say, let me make sure I understand what you're getting at here. Uncle Jim, is it this? And then you go, well, no, it's not that, it's this. Or yeah, like, you know, like you hit him with a 2x4 between the eyes. So, or he says, no, it's not that, it's this. And then you at least now there's some interest in what he's doing because you're trying to refine down what he's actually getting at. Anyway, that's the end of my tips on this point. Enjoy your day. Bye.